ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula has refuted claims that the party's National Working Committee intends to disband the Provincial Executive Committee in KwaZulu-Natal. This comes as the NWC looks to wrap up its visit to KZN to evaluate the state of the organisation in the province after a significant loss in the recent polls. Joining us to discuss the ANC's NWC's two-day engagement in KwaZulu-Natal, we're joined by Nkosikhulule Nyembezi, a Policy Analyst at Nyembezi Election Monitoring Network. Good afternoon, Mr. Nyembezi. Thank you very much for joining us on The Full View. So the ANC's NWC is yet to conclude its two-day engagement with structures in KZN. And of course, this is in an effort to understand how they lost the election and what needs to be done and to get a sense of the state of the organisation in the province. What has been your assessment of the state of the organisation under the current leadership?
Thank you very much. It's a fluid state in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, because when you look at different municipalities, you see that the performance of the ANC, it dips and rises, and also the fact that the people who were campaigning for the party, they also give different assessments as to what went wrong and what went right. So I think the visit by the NEC members is timely, because if the party wants to consolidate its position, to forget about what has happened in the sense of not keeping on mourning, it has to do that now. And I also think that the residents in the province are also looking forward to see how is this going to transpire, because we've heard from the Secretary General of the province making some statements, attacking some union members, and it just showed that there was some unsettling, and hopefully this visit is going to allay some of the concerns.
I was listening to the ANC's Zuko Godlimpe a bit earlier on today on their fact-finding mission, where he says, among others, theirs is to establish how a leader's popularity was able to translate into the level of support we saw for former President Jacob Zuma, because he said they've had many popular leaders at the African National Congress, which suggests that the conditions on the ground played a big role. When we speak of conditions, we're speaking of the poor service delivery, the stagnant economy, and ANC's leadership itself that seemed to not enjoy the full support of the members. Where do you stand on that argument that it couldn't have just been the former president's popularity alone, but that popularity was met by very difficult conditions on the ground?
I think the biggest enemy for the ANC is the ANC itself. So the issue about self-implosion is unpredictable as to what extent the damage could have been caused. And so now we see the reality on the ground that that implosion has really caused a lot of self-inflicted wounds. And I don't think also that it's just about the popularity of just one leader. It also has to do with the fact that a lot of these leaders at branch and regional level were facing disciplinary hearings, and they were about to be expelled from the party for corruption and other infighting reasons. And so they then jumped ship to other parties, particularly the MKs, which then says that the ANC still has a long way to go to mend itself. I mean, I remember that the former Premier Willis Mchunu, who's the leader of the ANC and the Communist Party, mentioned how the party used to be popular in KwaZulu-Natal because the leaders of SANCO, the presidents, they came from KwaZulu-Natal. President of COSATU, president of the ANC, president of the Women's League. And yet you find that in 2024, that has not benefited the party, which then speaks again to this issue of the implosion.
You talk of this implosion. One would then say the PEC has presided over this implosion. Should they then be disciplined in any way? Because journalists posed that question on the possible disbanding of the PEC, and the SG merely said that the matter didn't arise when they were engaging with structure, so it's not on the cards right now.
I think that palace politics are not going to help the ANC as well as the people of the province at large. The ANC and any organization need to go back to the masses to mobilize there, to deal with the structural problems that you find in service delivery. The fact that some of the people in government deployed by the ANC were responsible directly for sabotaging service delivery, the provision of water, the provision of electricity, you name it. It means that there are deep-seated problems. And so it's not just going to be about palace politics. We'll remember that former President Mbeki went to the province to campaign, but he couldn't finish his rounds because what he saw there was something, as he said, was unrecognizable of the ANC that he knows. So it's all deep-seated problems, but to the extent that they can be dealt with internally, and not just in terms of palace politics, but in terms of the masses, it projects a future for the ANC. It projects something that says there is hope. But if they miss that, then they would have missed a big part, because there are by-elections that are coming. And the ANC is threatened in those by-elections. And the more by-elections they lose or they win with slight margins, the more precarious their position is going to be, not only in terms of the internal members, but in terms of the population at large, which lends support to this party. So it's a very crucial point for the party to negotiate.
Mr. Nyembezi, thank you very much for your insights this afternoon. That's Nkosikhulule Nyembezi, a policy analyst at Nyembezi Election Monitoring Network, speaking to us.